daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here for the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Today, it is October 24th, 2021, and on today's show, we have Big 12 action from the weekend to get to. A really impactful, important weekend of Big 12 action. All four games that we saw really did mean something, not just in the Big 12 race, but like for each team, there is something that is important that we can take from it moving forward. We'll also touch on how the four teams moving into the Big 12 did this weekend as well. Pretty good weekend for them, a 4-0 weekend for the new members, the incoming members of the Big 12 Conference. Before we get to all that, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You can follow me at JoshNeighbors_. If you're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify, make sure you find us on YouTube as well. You can find us, just look up Locked On Big 12 and subscribe there. If you find us on YouTube, just do the opposite. You can go find us Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. All of those places is where you can find the Locked On Big 12 podcast. All right, friends, let's get to it. The first game we have to start with, you guys are seeing me right now. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing my Iowa State shirt actually just came in. So Iowa State 24, Oklahoma State 21. And I think I found myself wondering moving forward, and I mean after Oklahoma and Texas leave the conference, is this what the great Big 12 clashes are going to look like? Is it going to look like teams like this, Iowa State, built off of defense and skilled off, making big plays with their skilled offensive players, much like Oklahoma State did? They are a defensive-based team, obviously, and they've got playmakers like Brennan Presley and Jalen Warren and Tay Martin. And on the opposite way, you've got Xavier Hutchinson and Breece Hall and Brock Purdy, obviously, and Charlie Kolar. Is this what the future of the Big 12 looks like? Because if it is, you can sign me up. This was a fantastic football game from start to finish. Just want to say, first of all, this is the Iowa State team that we thought would be a top 10 team. I know Oklahoma State, probably in the end is not a top 10 football team, no, but they were ranked that at the time. They came in there and Iowa State beat them. And this was really what Iowa State should have looked like all season long. So I know there is a piece of kind of, what could have been if you're an Iowa State fan. But generally speaking, the hunt is back on for a Big 12 title. Now, is there a tightrope they have to walk with the loss to Baylor, especially as Baylor continues to play very well in Big 12 play? Yes, there is. But with this win over Oklahoma State, who is entrenched heading into this week as the number 2 team in the conference, owning that second spot in Dallas, the hunt is now back on. The idea that we get an Iowa State versus Oklahoma championship is very much still in play. And just to illustrate, as we get into this game, how even these two teams were. Usually people say, favorites in Vegas, like 3 points is what they assign for home teams. I know in college it can be a bit more, but they were 3 points better than Oklahoma State today. It felt like if they played this game in Stillwater, maybe Stillwater's 3 points better than Oklahoma State there. And if they play this game on a neutral field, it probably goes either way. The line of 7 was way too many. It came out as that much. I had no clue who was going to win this football game. I knew it was going to be decided at less than 7 points, though. Oklahoma State +7 was the easiest bet of the week this week for me in the Big 12 Conference. Even easier than the 38.5 that Kansas was getting against Oklahoma. I sincerely mean that. This was a no-brainer for me. I just thought the game was going to be close. It's very odd to think, considering that I really didn't know who was going to win it, but felt very confident this thing was going to be a 7-point ball game. Let's get to the spot. There's a lot of conversation around that. For those of you who don't know, Oklahoma State down 3 late in this game, 24-21, had the ball driving, and on a 4th and 2, I believe the pass was out to Presley, I think. I forget who got that pass there in the end, but goes to the line, looks like he was short of the line to gain. Offensive lineman comes over and pushes him on top. And in this game, there's a lot of pushing the entire game. Referees kind of letting it go in terms of, getting that push up front. I thought personally, 2 things here, and I'm kind of going to both sides of this. Number one, I thought the spot was bad. I thought if you go back and you look, you clearly see 70 is going to get forward to the line to gain as he is pushing the receiver underneath that, under the pile. So it's pretty safe to assume that if 70 makes it there, the guy he is pushing has also made it there. That being said, it appeared that there was no really good, if there was, we would have seen it, no good camera angle to verify that. So really what we're thinking there is, if you watch it, I think we can all kind of agree that you know, just based off, if you watch a lot of football, that's kind of a play where, yeah, that guy got pushed to the line to gain. It looked like he ends up getting there. Iowa State stacks him up kind of at that spot, but it looked like the extra effort from the offensive lineman helped him get there. And you could say, well, his forward progress was stopped. Was the forward progress stopped in the Oklahoma game? Did they blow the whistle? Did the play count for Caleb Williams? All those things. No, it wasn't. So they didn't blow the play dead. They did not say forward progress was stopped on that play. And so to me, it looked like when 70 came in there, I think it was 70 who ends up getting the push there. But it looked like on that final play that was going to be enough for a first down, in my opinion. I really thought that was going to be enough. They were going to review it. But, well, in my opinion, when I was watching, I was like, that should be a first down. Now, when they began to show the replays, it looked like, there was no way to verify that he got to the 40, and that's the problem there. So you think he probably got there, but I didn't see an angle that would verify that. So I understand why they went with the call on the field, but I did think that he probably got the line to gain. I think that, but here's the problem. If you cannot verify that, and maybe there's an angle, if somebody could share an angle, maybe with, or send a link or something below in the comments that would verify otherwise, yeah, then my assumptions would have been, obviously, verified, lack of a better word. But there's no angle that shows clearly that he is there. So the spot maintains, it gets held up, and Iowa State goes on to win this football game. But I will say this was a well-played game, two very good defenses, also offenses that made very good plays throughout the game. For Spencer Sanders, it's never going to look pretty, but 15 for 24 for 225 and 3 scores. It's a pretty good game for him. I thought he made some really nice throws in this game. I thought Brock Purdy the same, 27 for 33 for 307 and 2 scores. On my the SiriusXM show that I work on, Big 12 today, I do a segment called Prop the Top Off, where I ask some questions of, this week it was Gabe Eichert and Chris Plank, and also Robbie Triano, who's been on the show a few times. And I asked the guys, I said, all right, here's the prop. Which guy makes the crippling turnover, right? Which guy falters? Spencer Sanders or Brock Purdy? Turns out neither was the answer. Neither guy had a really horrible turnover in this game, and I thought this was one the way you want to see a game. Well, I know the spot, once again, people complain about it, but I thought this game came down to two offenses that have been up and down at times against two really good defenses. I thought Oklahoma State's hold there late in the game, it was very important. Obviously, forcing that punt late on in the game was huge, and sending things back the other way for Iowa, for Oklahoma State rather, to their offense to make a play was really important. I thought Iowa State's defense in the end, getting that stop, showed their quality, and there were plenty of good offensive plays in between. Also for Iowa State, this was Xavier Hutchinson's best game of his career. I know there's other games where he's gained more yardage. Earlier this year against UNLV, he lit it up, but 12 for 125 and 2 scores, and it felt like he was just an impact player every single time they went to the air in this game. I thought he was a huge difference maker, and that's somebody that if you watched this show or you knew, I've been critical of Xavier Hutchinson. I thought a lot of times that he's a bit overhyped. Yeah, some of it maybe the inability of Brock Purdy to get him the football. Maybe some of it's on him. Maybe some of it's the fact that their offense is just really based on being very balanced. But he was the go-to guy in this game today, and he was earning it out there. So great win for Iowa State. Just a reminder that not all is lost for them this season. As I mentioned before, the hunt for the Big 12 championship, it goes on for them. I know they're 5-2, lost to Iowa, knocked them probably out of college football playoff contention, we think, as we move forward. But they're going to get 2 cracks at, if they can make it that far, 2 cracks at Oklahoma. But they've got left on their schedule, home for West Virginia, or on the road for West Virginia, Texas, at Tech, at OU, TCU. So a very winnable stretch. They should be favored in West Virginia. They'll be favored. Texas, they'll be favored at home. At Tech, they should be favored. At Oklahoma, they will not. And then TCU at home, they will be. So they're going to be favorites in 4 of their last 5 games remaining, as they sit at 5-2. A pretty good position, if you ask me, considering where they were. But I think you saw it in that Kansas game. This is a different group and they began to kind of show that as they move forward. A really awesome win against Kansas State. Oklahoma State win is the statement win for them this year, and let's see if they can turn this 3-game win streak into 4 on the road in Morgantown. I like their chances to do that next week, so we'll see what they do there. All right, next game we have to get to is I'm going to take a quick sip of the old water here. Oklahoma 35, Kansas 23. All right, this was a game that was really interesting because it reaffirmed a lot of what we thought would happen, or what we might have thought we knew about Oklahoma's defense. They're not getting better. They cannot tackle. That first half was one of the more embarrassing halves I've seen a team have all season long. At least the Tulane game, they showed a little fight at some point in time in that game. They got steamrolled from pillar to post in that first half. Not once again, not the whole game, obviously come back and win. But in that first half, they get absolutely rolled by Kansas. And in terms of the way that the game went, what I mean is like the plays. 17 plays in the first half, 37 for Kansas. Kansas scores 10 points. They got 195 yards on 28 rushes. They had 132, so 4.7 yards per rush. They were converting third downs at an impressive 7 for 9 clip. Oklahoma could not get off the field. Kansas held the ball for 22 minutes in that first half, but obviously the second half, that is when the rally came. Now, I was really impressed with Kansas because they answered back, to press the lead once again when they had to do it. So I was very impressed with the Jayhawks in a spot where I think a lot of us thought they might wither and fold. They did not. This game came down to the play, and I'm sure you all have seen it by now. Kennedy Brooks gets stopped late in the fourth quarter, would have given Kansas the ball back, a chance to tie or go ahead in the game. And Kennedy Brooks gets stopped. Caleb Williams comes and takes the ball from him, physically rips it out of his hands, and continues down the field. It was one of the most impressive plays that you're going to see all year. Now, this goes back to the point I made earlier about, hey, could you argue his forward progress was stopped? Yes, but also it was just kind of so fast with the way things happened that they were able to, on that fourth down, he's able to come up and get the ball. Also, in a previous fourth down situation, he was able to get a run for 40 yards and a touchdown. So Caleb Williams, man, continues to be just the truth. He made a really critical error in that first half in a game where Kansas was sucking the life out of it. He kind of got pressed in a situation where they said, all right, we got to take a shot. We got to respond with a punch here, and threw a really poor interception. Rallied in the second half, though. But that's just him being young, and I think it's positive to see that he rallied. The big story in this game, for me, outside of Oklahoma, and if you want more Oklahoma coverage, you can go and find John Williams, and he'll have it over there for Locked On Sooners. The big story in this game for me is, hell yeah, Kansas. This is a loss, and I know it sounds weird. This is a loss you can build off of. They have Kansas State, at Texas, at TCU, and West Virginia the rest of the way. West Virginia is not very good. Even though they got one against TCU. TCU, not great either. At Texas, probably not a winnable game. Kansas State at home. Let's see if they can muddy the waters. Kansas State's not a team that's going to go up and down the field on you. So if Kansas can make the most of their possessions, maybe it's close. But Lance Leipold did a great job in preparation for this game. You could tell there was a game plan. There was there was organization there in a way that we cannot say was existent for previous Kansas teams. So I think that's my big takeaway. Obviously, once again for the Sooners, I encourage you guys to go over and check out Locked On Sooners. Obviously, they have so much they have to clean up, but they do get to 8-0. One of their best starts, in the since the year 2000. So, or since 2004, I think it's their best start at this point. So obviously a win's a win, not an impressive one. OU fans, you have the right to be angry. I would be angry too if I was an Oklahoma fan about the result, but still won by double digits. It's not much of a consolation. This game was way closer than it really should have been. Well, this game should have been close, but when you stack up these two teams, it should not be very close. All right, quick break here before we get to the rest of the games. I'll let you guys know about our friends at Prize Picks. It's the best way to play daily fantasy when it comes to college football. They've got overs and unders on yards, interceptions, rushing yards, receiving yards, all kinds of things. Go check them out. You can download the app right now. It's available in most states when you download Prize Picks and use that promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON, Locked On. You guys will get a deposit match up to $100 today. So go check that out. Prize Picks, download the app today. All right, what else do we have on the docket? Well, we've got Kansas State 25, Texas Tech 24. I kept a pretty close eye on this game, and I have to mention, like, this is I don't try to get people fired in the show. This is it's not joy. I know people ripped me last week for the Gary Patterson thing. It's starting to look a little better now on that front. Matt Wells and Texas Tech had to win this game, and they did not because they made more mistakes than Kansas State did. Now, Kansas State made mistakes early, but their execution late is what differentiated them. Texas Tech got shut out in the second half of this game. They got shut out by Kansas State. That should not happen at home. They had a penalty, a hands-to-face penalty, I believe it was, that kept a drive alive for Kansas State. And honestly, their offense actually was -2 in the second half because they gave up the safety to begin it. And that safety ends up being the difference, 25-24 in this game. But Kansas State, they had a fumble later on in the game on a deep drive, but the other way around, Texas Tech turned it over on a turnover on downs, which led to a Kansas State touchdown. Then Texas Tech couldn't get it done late in this game. So for Kansas State, this is a great win. It's a way to rally. It's their first Big 12 win. They needed it. Skylar Thompson led the offense very well today. Deuce Vaughn, I thought they executed really well on that goal line play where he scored. And also the RPO where I think he ran a wheel route to the outside there. Did a good job. Skylar Thompson stepping up in the pocket, lifting it over the defender and finding Deuce Vaughn. 3 total scores on the day for Deuce. Looks like he's back, but once again, great win for Chris Kleiman. Kansas State, we'll kind of hit more on them as we move forward this week because I think they're a pretty interesting team. Texas Tech really is where the focus should be. They are now 5-3. They should have been 6-2. They go to OU next week at 3:30. And I know with the way OU's playing, hey, maybe they could catch them, and who knows. But then they have Iowa State, then they have Oklahoma State, then they are at Baylor. Their next 4 games are all against teams that are currently the top 4 contending for the Big 12 championship. This third loss in the conference effectively knocks them out of any kind of hunt at all. Technically speaking, they would still be in the hunt for a Big 12 title, with 2 losses in these 4 games coming up, being they would have been 3-2. But at OU, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, at Baylor, 4 teams that are going to be ranked once the AP poll comes out today. I'm recording this before. And 4 games that, with Henry Columbia at the helm, I don't think you're feeling too confident. Now, they do get a break between Oklahoma and Iowa State. We'll see if Tyler Shuck can come back. But still, the execution for them is not been there right now. And it's a big concern because Matt Wells now, the idea of them making a bowl game, that is on the ropes with the 4 games they've got left. That is definitely in jeopardy. And really, this team, it was not a focus group. They didn't do it enough to win this football game when it mattered the most. The second half for them, once again, was pretty brutal. If you guys want the idea of it, here it is. It's safety, punt, downs, 4 drives, 2 turnovers on downs, a punt, and a safety. Just horrible results for them in the second half. And this puts Matt Wells, this puts Texas Tech in a precarious position. Felt like a game they were going to win. They were up early, just did not finish, and Kansas State crept their way back into the game. And let's be honest, they earned that victory. Texas Tech did not deserve to win the way they played late in this contest. Oh boy, West Virginia 29, TCU 17. Dear God, it is not looking good right now for TCU. I know Gary complained about the blog post that we mentioned. Matt Jennings, Stephen Simcock's buddy over there at Locked On Horned Frogs, had wrote the piece about Gary Patterson, maybe saying it's time to move on. He had mentioned this week his team looked horrible. They returned a kickoff for a touchdown early in this game, and then after that, it looked really bad for TCU the rest of the way. Their offense did not execute. They had 3 pretty critical turnovers and 2 interceptions by Max Duggan. They had a fumble late in the game that killed any kind of momentum and any kind of hope that they had for getting back into it. This is at home. And look, West Virginia, I'll give them their flowers in 1 second, but TCU to me feels like the story because this was an opportunity for them to get to 2-2 in the conference, 4-3 overall. They fall now to 1-3. I know Max Duggan's playing injured, and I know that's been a difficult, it's a challenge for them, but this is a game that their defense let them down in a bunch of spots as well. Their offense did not hold up in the way it had in the past, but that should be okay sometimes. And against a bad defense, maybe you should win this game, 17-14, something like that. But no, their defense was not good enough. This was Jared Dagey, one of his best games this season. He was 21 for 28 for 257. Letty Brown, 3 scores on the day. Nice scoring drives, big plays for them as well. West Virginia just had, that first half they were absolutely gangbusters. Field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. They were driving down the field really easily. The 4 actual drives they scored on. And then the second half, 3 scoring drives as well. They were pretty consistent in making things happen. And TCU was not finishing drives in this game. Their offense was all over the place. Gary Patterson's got a lot of questions to answer as they move forward. West Virginia picks up a huge win coming off the bye week just to settle things down, because I know things were getting a little antsy there in Morgantown. They're still 3-4. They still have Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Texas, Kansas left. So, I don't think 6 wins is going to be on the menu for them. But they do have Iowa State and West Virginia at home. They do have Texas at home as well. So we'll see, but a huge win on the road for Neil Brown's group just to get a little bit of more confidence back. All right, one more quick break, and we'll get to the other teams that play this weekend, the teams that are joining in the Big 12 Conference. We'll check off their results as we wrap up the show. But first, a word from our friends at Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting, best for you protein bar in the game today. Go to Built.com. That's Built.com. Check out all of the flavors available there right now. If you've not tried it, you are missing out. They are covered in chocolate. They're delicious. There really is something for everybody. If you go to Built.com today, use the promo code LOCK15. That's LOCKED15. LOCK15. You get 15% off on your first order at Built.com. All right, UCF 24, Memphis 7. Awesome defensive performance. Pretty dominant from Gus Malzahn's group in this game. They've been sputtering, but with backup quarterbacks, they were effective. They got the job done. Their offense was good enough to get a win. Thought it was a nice win for a team that's been depleted. It's had really a lot of troubles at the quarterback position so far this year. Cincinnati 27, Navy 20. This game was weird. It was back, a little back and forth early. Cincinnati took control. Navy got an onside kick with a chance to make this thing, close to the end, but their passing offense, they really never put them in that much jeopardy. Also, this brings us to the point of, we can't be criticizing Navy for not winning games by enough points. I don't know what that's about. Oklahoma's win against Kansas is not going to be docked against me. You say, well, they won by 12. Yeah, it wasn't for Caleb Williams taking the ball out of Kennedy Brooks' hands. That would have been a one-score game, and KU would have had the ball with a chance to score. They beat a horrible Tulane team by 5 at home. They've got, the narrow wins. And look, here's the thing. I don't think they should be counted against them. I don't really care about how you win. I'm not sure we should be doing that, talking about how you win. But for the most part, Cincinnati's been bludgeoning teams. They beat Notre Dame on the road. They beat Indiana, who's, at the time, still was some semi-decent at the time. Still, they beat them by 2 scores in the road. They go into Notre Dame, they get a win there too. I don't really know what else we're going to be asking. Yeah, they've got SMU and Houston left in the schedule. Those would be big wins if they can get those down the stretch as well. And I'm not sure why we should be criticizing them. Sure, if they start winning every single game by 2 or 3 points, maybe you can ask a question or two. But this happens. Bad teams sometimes play good against, play well against good teams. Illinois yesterday against Penn State. Penn State had won. They probably dropped 1 or 2 in the rankings, but right now, I don't think anybody's pressing Cincinnati in the rankings after their 7-point lead. The team behind them, Oklahoma, didn't look very good. I think if anybody jumps, it might be Ohio State who jumps up this week to number 3. But I don't think they should jump Cincinnati. I don't think we should be doing that because Cincinnati's still undefeated. Houston 31, ECU 24. This one was in overtime. I believe Houston is now bowl eligible, I think, on the season. Either that or they're right there at it. So I think they're bowl eligible, definitely. And this is a nice win. It's a nice response. Their entire season's been a nice response, rather, after that loss against Texas Tech. A game they really should have won. They should be undefeated right now, it feels like, but we're not able to get that one done against Tech early in the year. But still, a good year happening right now. They got a huge matchup with SMU to kind of decide who is the second best team at this point in that conference. Finally, BYU 21, Washington State 19. The win is a win. I thought they beat Washington State by more. Washington State's been playing well, but obviously they just lose Nick Rolovich and a few other assistant coaches. So in kind of weird circumstances, BYU goes on the road and gets a win. 4-0 week once again for the new incoming teams. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You can follow me at JoshNeighbors_. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.